One of my biggest issues with the modern trucking industry and with the mega carriers today is the misleading and deceptive language they use to entice new and inexperienced drivers into the industry. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of those terms so drivers don't fall for this bullshit. Let's call a spade a spade. Drivers want to be out on the road. That's why it's important to have a great ELD provider that can answer your questions if you run into a problem. Fleet Nav systems can keep you on the road longer with their Geotab ELD and phenomenal customer support. They also have video training on YouTube. So check them out at their website and on YouTube to find out why Fleet Nav systems is different from other ELD providers and can keep you on the road longer. Example number one, the sign-on bonus. Now, almost all carriers these days are using sign-on bonuses to entice drivers to come and work for their carriers, their companies. And I've seen sign-on bonuses sometimes $10,000 and more. And the bigger the bonus, the more attractive it becomes. Now, a sign-on bonus means when you go to the carrier, you agree to work for them, and you sign up with them, that's when they pay you cash. That's a sign-on bonus. Only it's virtually never that way, because what the carriers do is they use this sign-on bonus terminology to entice you into coming into the office and signing up, and then you find out there are all sorts of stipulations with getting this bonus. You've got to get a certain amount of good fuel mileage. You've got to run a certain amount of miles. You've got to be on time a certain amount of times. And you've got to answer to all these stipulations, and then if you do that, they offer to pay you this sign-on bonus at the end of the year. That's not a sign-on bonus. That's a year-end bonus. And many guys don't even see this bonus at all. Example number two, paid CDL training. Now this term implies that you would be paid a minimum wage for all the training, all the hours that you train. But this isn't usually the case. A lot of these carriers won't pay for in-classroom time at all. They only pay a driver, and often it's below minimum wage when they're hooked to a team load running with an experienced driver trainer, as they like to call it. And then that training apparently stops when you reach your destination, the shipper or receiver, because at that point, they're not paying you. It's only by the mile. Now bear in mind that this paid training is often done by someone who's absolutely inexperienced and unqualified to do any training at all. Often these driver trainers have only a couple of months experience. And now under the latest waiver system with the FMCSA, the driver trainer may not even be sitting beside the unlicensed driver. He's often in the bunk asleep. So the unlicensed driver is training himself because there's no one there in the passenger seat to guide him. So I don't know what kind of training that is, but the courts are finding against this practice and ruling against the carriers for this. Example number three, the carrier will say, "You're hired." And then they have you meet a bus, and they bus you and 48 unfortunate souls across the country to their nearest terminal and put you into their training program. Then you find out sometimes that you haven't really even been hired at all. They find a way to turf you midway through your orientation because they found something about you that they don't like. And the implications run from anywhere between they don't want female drivers to they don't want drivers of color. They don't need to provide you with the reason that they're turfing you from the class. They just toss you out of the class, cancel your paid hotel, cancel your meal ticket, and refuse to provide you transportation home. This is a misleading practice. We did a whole video on this. It's such a dirty deal. It's hard to believe that this still exists in this industry, but it does. And that's misleading when they tell you you're hired when you're not really hired at all. Finally, this latest and greatest misleading term in the trucking industry is the independent contractor. Now, Webster's dictionary defines independent as being free from outside control, not under anyone else's authority. But the mega carriers love to throw this term around and call their owner-operators and their lease operators independent contractors. And they do this because they're trying to convince the legal system and the drivers and the court system that these lease operators and owner operators are free from the controls of the carrier that they work for. Only that's not often the case. Why are they doing this? Because the carriers don't want to pay for the benefits that may be owed those drivers, such as health benefits, sick days off, holiday pay, overtime pay, any sort of pay system at all that a driver would normally be paid by the carrier. The carriers don't want to pay that. There used to be money, generally, in owning your own truck. These days, in today's trucking environment, that's not necessarily the case. Lease operators and owner operators these days are going bankrupt and losing the truck by the tens of thousands every year. Lease operators and owner operators need to take a good hard look at their financial positions, not just for today, but for the next 5 and 10 years to come. They may be turning their backs on the benefits owed to them under law by their carriers in favor of a hollow title like independent contractor. Don't allow the carriers to misclassify you. It may be costing you money. Trucking companies will always need trucks, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good idea for drivers to buy those trucks for them. Know the terminology and know the industry. Stay safe, keep the rubber side down, and we'll see you on the back haul.